when we are victims or crime, we can't call the police. No way.
Lo único que podría decir es, si yo vuelvo a vivir este momento, yo no le llamaría al policía otra vez. Y yo, la verdad es que yo considero que esa llamada cambió mi vida.
Human Rights Watch went to Nashville to talk to undocumented immigrants who were afraid of calling the police. In many cases, that was because they feared that police would contact federal immigration authorities and put them in deportation proceedings.
Yo no entendía por qué yo estaba cubriendo un juicio federal por hacer nada, por hacer absolutamente nada. Mi error fue haber llamado al policía.
We've seen in case after case how immigrants nationwide are afraid of contacting law enforcement. Well, Nashville, like many parts of the United States, has seen a large growth of its immigrant population. In the last decade, it's roughly doubled. Also, like many parts of the United States, Nashville in the mid-2000s began implementing federal immigration policies that involved local law enforcement. Nashville started to implement a federal policy called Secure Communities. Under Secure Communities, local law enforcement fingerprints individuals they come across and shares those fingerprints with a federal immigration agency. So any encounter that an immigrant had with the police could eventually lead to them being deported. And so they become more vulnerable to abuse and exploitation.
I started working in a Mexican restaurant. I was a slave for 8 years in that restaurant. The guy mistreated me really bad. And every time he joked and he said, like, I will call INS to come and pick you up. I will not call the police because I know so many of my friends, they passed through that. And because they called the police, now they are back home.
The Obama administration says that Secure Communities is aimed at deporting dangerous criminals who threaten the country. In fact, however, it's often swept up people who have committed only minor offenses, if any at all.
Ese día que me para la policía, nosotros íbamos para mi casa. Me quedaba, yo creo, 1 milla para llegar a mi casa. Y cuando me va diciendo, baja del carro, estás arrestada. Y le dije yo, ¿pero por qué me arrestas? Por no tener licencia, me dijo él. Después de esos 4 días de arresto, llegó migración por mí y me detuvieron también unas 4 o 5 horas. Y ellos me dijeron, ¿quieres estar con tu familia? Pues yo le dije que sí, te vamos a dejar ir con tu familia, pero tú tienes que salir voluntariamente del país.
In states and cities across the country, local law enforcement is starting to realize that they can't do their jobs effectively while at the same time implementing secure communities. That's why many cities and states are starting to pass laws and rules that limit their cooperation with secure communities.
Sinceramente, yo recomendaría no llamar al policía si hay un problema de esos. O sea, se puede pasar tal vez en 2 o 3 horas el problema, pero si llamas al policía puede ser más problema aún, muchísimo más.
When a rapist or a violent offender goes free because an immigrant was afraid to report them, that person remains free to commit offenses against everybody in the community.